I've not read sci-fi in a while, so here we are with a sci-fi book, Annie Bot by Sierra Greer. And this book has such a delicious looking cover. Is that kind of weird? It's like, it makes me hungry. So from my understanding, Annie Bot follows along our main character, Annie, who is a robot, and she has artificial intelligence all installed, and she has basically been created to be the perfect girlfriend for this guy, Doug. And Doug is like, I love you, you're perfect, you're amazing, but the more that Annie learns about the world and her kind of artificial intelligence gathers more information and she kind of becomes more of a person, Doug is starting to be like, oh, you're not perfect anymore. Like, what's wrong with you? And it's all about like breaking out of an abusive relationship and having all the kind of like the red flags and stuff throughout the entire thing. And like this robot finding herself and who she is. And I imagine like she kind of discovers that maybe after she escapes, or if she ever does escape, I don't know, but it's kind of just like her figuring out who she is as she gains more intelligence about the world around her. And that sounds really, really good. So yeah, I think I have pretty high expectations for this, especially because this is one of the books that my friend recommended me, and she was the same one who recommended me Bunny, that I absolutely adored and cannot stop thinking about. So yeah, I think that this is going to be a good book. I think that it's different than the kind of stuff that I usually read, and that's what all 2025 is all about, reading books that are not just fantasy and romance. So yeah, without further ado, let's read Annie Bot. So I'm a little bit more than 100 pages, as well as halfway through Annie Bot, and here are my thoughts so far. This is such a good book. The way that our main character, Annie, has literally been created to be the girlfriend of this guy, Doug, and is basically programmed to love him. There are so many red flags that even she sees, and I'm like, oh my goodness, girl, get out of there. And so following along Annie, she is robot, and her kind of like role is to be a cuddle bunny. So basically she has been created for a man's pleasure, and because of her artificial intelligence, she is starting to become more of like a person. She's gained more intelligence and more of a personality, and is starting to learn more about her, because the only thing that she knows is the apartment and Doug does not treat her right at all. And it's one of those things that it's like, it's very, very subtle at first, and the way that Annie reacts to it, that even her like mechanics notice, is like how important it is to Annie to not disappoint Doug, and how that's literally like messing her up. But Doug is somebody who's never ever going to be pleased in his entire life. He just always wants to find something that's wrong with Annie and make her feel bad about it so he can feel good about himself. Typical narcissistic gaslighter. And this book is just hidden really, really hard. If anybody's ever been in like a situation like this, like you know what this is like. And there are so many things too where it's like Annie's really excited about something and he's like hyping her up for it just for him to take it away from her, or to like ground her because he's mad, and it makes her think that it's something that she did, but even though she actually didn't do anything wrong. Or when he's talking about the vacuum and he's like, oh Annie, like you never vacuum properly, like make sure you get underneath like the tables and stuff. And she does it and she mentions, hey, I did it, and he's like, you don't do it right. You don't do it right. You make me feel bad about myself. And it's like, shut up, Doug, I hate you. It's like interesting too, because it's like a sci-fi kind of like vibe to it, where Annie's a robot and she's gaining more understanding about the world around her and is starting to figure out what she wants in this life. And she loves Doug. She's been programmed to love him even when he does these bad things, and it makes her think, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm doing something wrong. But it's actually Doug, and she can't see that, but she does see it at the same time. And it's so, so well done. I just want to hug her. So yeah, honestly, super, super good so far. I am excited to see where this book is going to go. I really want her to break out of this situation and find herself and have a better life, because she deserves it. And maybe she could become like an AI advocate, like an advocate for the AI women and men who are like being treated like this from their partners, because one of the things in this is like, her mechanics have asked her, like, does he hit you? And she's like, no. But that doesn't mean that she's not being abused. And the way that people don't understand that in this book, they don't understand it. And they, like, because abuse isn't just physical. And Annie, like, she's trying so hard. She's trying so hard, and I love her. Yeah, so that's where we're at. So I'm going to continue to read Annie Bot, knowing that this is a pretty short book. I'll update you when I finish it, so I'll see you then with my final thoughts and the rating for this book. So see you then. I feel like this book might make me cry, to be honest.
In a world of circuits and steel, found a love that's unreal. Pixelated dreams, binary beams. You and I, we're a perfect team. No human heart, but I can feel.
Last night I finished Annie Bot, and this was such a well done book in so many different levels. I really like, you basically have the first half of the book that is very similar to like an Ex Machina kind of vibe, where she has been basically created to give pleasure to this guy, her creator pretty much, well, her owner. And so it's that kind of dynamic as she's slowly learning about the world around her, learning about herself and how relationships should look. And then we have the second act, second part of the book, where there's a lot of character development, not just with Annie, but also with Doug. And I was like shook, because like you just want him to be bad the entire time. Like you don't want to see the layers of him, or maybe you do. I personally really love the layers, but like, you know what I mean? It really showed us more layers to this character, and like why he does certain things, why he behaves certain ways. Doesn't excuse him, but it explains him. And how they're both trying to learn like how to be in a healthy relationship with each other, and like what can they do for that. But then there's obviously like the horrible stuff that Doug does, like locking her in a closet and messing with her like libido settings, like all of that. And she's constantly conflicted throughout the entire book, because she's like, this guy's supposed to love me, and I assume that this is how you should be treated when you're loved. So why do I feel so sad and empty inside? And there's so many good quotes like in this entire book. I'm not like an annotated person, but there's just some that like they really popped up, and I was like, wow, this is the message of this book. This book knows what it's talking about. This book is so well done, because it's not just about a robot gaining sentience. It's so much more. It's about the complexities of relationships, especially abusive relationships, and feeling like you're owned, and being a woman in this kind of like, it has a lot of nods into society, like when she tries to explain her situation, but people are like, oh, you're overreacting, like you're not thinking about it. And it's like she closes up. She doesn't want to tell anybody about it either, because she knows there's something not right. And Doug is also like forbid her from telling anybody about what happened, especially with the closet. And then also just how she is viewed when people think that she's a person versus how people view her when they realize that she's a robot. And just like the audacity of some people in these situations. But the dog is perfect and beautiful. And to be honest, this is also a bit of a hard read, because you can see that like she's so conflicted about this relationship, and then the stuff that he does, and then he's like, oh, I'll never do it again. And then he finds new way. He infuriates me so much. And like, but it was so well done. It's such a, like, it just does such a good and realistic job in showing that kind of dynamic, especially where he's like gaslighting her all the time, and she really doesn't realize that she actually hasn't done anything wrong, and he's just messed up. It was really good. This was a really good book. I feel very emotional about this book. Yeah, it's honestly really excellent. If it sounds like your cup of tea, I definitely recommend reading it. It won awards for a very good reason. So today we are going to be awarding Annie Bot a total of 4.5 stars. I don't know why I can't give this book 5 stars. I feel like it probably is a 5-star read, but for some reason I just can't give it that rating. And I have no idea why. Like when it's a 5-star read, like I just know it in my gut. I know it in my chest when it's a 5-star read. And this book is very, very good, but there's just one thing that I can't seem to grasp what that did not make it a 5-star read for me, but very, very close to a 5-star read. And I loved this book so much. It's such a good read. It's super, super quick too. Like, you can read it very, I mean, I don't know your life schedule. I don't know your work hours. I don't know your life, but if you have a couple of hours you could dedicate to that book, I definitely recommend that this is a book that you dedicate your time to, because it really does shed a light on that kind of situation. It does a really great job in it with a cool, like, futuristic kind of setting. Like, our world could look like that, who knows? But yeah, definitely add it to your TBR if you haven't already. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This is the classic book. I have somehow never read it, but I know that there was a TV show and a movie, and there's a lot of talk about this book, especially recently, so I'm like, you know what? I think it's time to read this next. So if you're interested in watching me read The Handmaid's Tale or any other book that happens to be on my never-ending TBR, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And with that, I'm going to wish you warm wishes and fish kisses, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!